Good morning, bienvenue, welcome to our Committee of the Whole meeting for the municipality of the County of Annapolis. Just a few reminders that we should have our cell phones put off so that it doesn't cause any problems for our meeting. And in case of emergency, two doors left and right, go down to the front desk and out to the front and meet up in the very back parking lot. And welcome to any of our visitors that are with us today, and welcome to staff. We are going to start with roll call.
District 1, Carrie-Ann Parsons-Salzman.
District 2, Jesse Hare.
District 3, Dustin Enslow.
District 4, Charles Crane.
District 5, Lynn Longmire.
District 6, John Welch.
District 7, Ted Hagenbarn.
District 8, Niall Harding.
District 9 is Councillor Ochsner, and she will be absent today due to emergency in her family. Could we have unanimous consent to approve her absence?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
District 10, Brian Pascano.
District 11, Diane LeBlanc. Okay, so we are going on to section 4, disclosure of interest. Do we have any this morning? Seeing none, we'll move along to the approval of the order of the day. Additions and changes. So it's approved as circulated. Now we have the minutes of the regular committee of the whole meeting that was on September the 9th, 2025. Are there any corrections or errors that we should be looking at? Seeing none, hearing none, they are approved as is. Okay. We will move on to information and staff reports. We are on page 23, which is the guarantees for the Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management Authority capital spending. Somebody going to speak on this, or we're just going to move from there?
The Director of Wills can come up and answer any questions at least if there are any.
Thank you. So with that, I put the motion on the floor. You want a brief?
You want me to give a quick overview?
Sure.
Okay. So, we are one of the partners for Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management Authority, which goes by the name of Valley Waste. In all the years that I've worked for government. Valley Waste is a municipal enterprise. It's formed by the partners of municipalities. The NGA says that when a municipal enterprise borrows, it may need guarantees to back up the borrowing. When I worked for MFC, the Municipal Finance Corporation, even though the MGA said you could guarantee it, we required it. In the event that the Valley Waste might have defaulted on a loan payment, it gave the minister the power to impose an area rate. And it's the only way that Valley Waste can borrow money for capital projects, is all partners have to guarantee the municipal borrowing. So Valley Waste has approached us to sign off on our portion of the guarantee. They're looking to borrow $1,465,000 in the spring. Of course, the paperwork all needs to go in and get signed by the minister, because it doesn't come into effect until the minister signs it. I can tell you in the 45 years that the Municipal Finance Corporation existed, along with the last, 45 years in total, because it was 43 years when they dissolved the MFC, and the last 2 years it's been part of the Treasury Board. There's never been a default on any of the loans. So this is more or less, I call it a rubber stamp. They've only ever came close to having one default in all that time, and that was one of the towns that was dissolving, had some cash flow issues, but they were able to meet that. So there's never been a default. It basically becomes a note in the financial statements. That's the high-level 101 version of how this works.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions? Maybe we'll put the motion on the floor. Could I have a mover? Councillor Cranston.
I move that Municipal Council approve the Valley Regional Solid Waste Resource Management Authority
guarantee resolution in the amount of $307,328 to cover its guaranteed portion of the 2025-2026 capital expenditures of $1,465,000 for the authority.
Thank you. Seconder? Councillor Welsh. Any comments or questions for Mr. Wills? This year is ready to go. I guess it's clear. No, Ted doesn't have any. Okay, so, all in favor signify by saying yes.
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 Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay, on page 27, we have the dangers in unsightly premises. And this is a report that is going to be presented by Ashley Gervais, Madame Campbell, the two of them. Give you the floor, ladies.
Just entertaining any questions. You'll see the list is significantly shorter.
And the top two properties have been removed, they're completed, and thank you letters have gone out to the Carlton Corner and Highway 8.
You said the top two?
The top two.
Okay. All right, thank you. We have questions, okay, I'm going to start my list. Deputy Warden and followed by Councillor Connell.
Thank you. I just have two questions about whenever I see some on the list that says dangerous, what category of dangerous are they? Like you've seen ones before that were farms that would fall over, and are these property owners, is it gonna get to a point where it's gonna fall to us to make a motion to deal with these properties?
Yes, we do have one that is possibly going to fall to you guys in probably the next couple months.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Connell?
So, under the Lawrencetown Lane, it says order expires, so what's the next step there? Is that, or had it been cleaned up?
He is actively working on the property currently.
Good.
So it's a work in progress?
Work in progress.
Okay.
And I'll pass my other information on afterwards.
Okay. Okay. Councillor Agenbar, do you have a question?
Yes, I don't have the list in front of me, but from memory, there was one in District 7, I believe it was labeled under Carlton Corner, and I believe the expiry date for the latest progress report was September the 19th or thereabouts. What's happened since then on that one? Do you have an update further than that?
That one has been closed and completed, and a thank you letter has gone out to the resident.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Oh, Councillor Longmire?
Thanks. Thank you. So my question is, and I don't know if it can be answered, quite honestly, it would be, do we naturally go out into our communities from your position, Mr. Gervais, and assess for particular properties? Or do we just receive complaints by phone or?
It's a complaints-based process, so it would be a resident comes to us with a complaint, we then go out and investigate. We, as the investigator, determine if it's unsightly or dangerous, and then we go from there.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Councillor Welsh?
In the case where there has to be a demolition, is that something that we put out to tender, or is that something that we can do internally for a cleanup?
Well, we have a standing offer list for, every 2 or 3 years, we develop a list. And generally, we try and make it geographically close to the location. So we have contractors throughout the county that can go and do the work, and we do it under a standing offer arrangement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cranston?
Can a resident file an anonymous complaint, or they have to give their civic?
It's very difficult to act on the basis of an anonymous complaint. And one of the reasons it's difficult is because it reflects, for the circumstance of Unsightly in particular, community standards. And so what might be the standard for tidiness in one community isn't necessarily the standard of tidiness in another community. And an anonymous complaint does not establish that the person lives in and is kind of impacted by the complaint. So it's extremely difficult. Also, if it eventually ends up in a court process or an order for demolition process, it becomes far more difficult when it's an anonymous complaint. And Rob may wish to speak to that further in regards to best practice.
It stays confidential. Basically, I am aware of one where a resident has mentioned one, but they do not seem to want to file the complaint. And I've encouraged them twice now that they have to, and it stays confidential. Like it hasn't, I haven't seen like this list here. I have no idea where these come from. So, but I'm just wondering what I can maybe do to give this person assurance to get them to file their complaint. I think they're under the impression by telling the counselor that I'll do it for them, and I've told them that I can't, and that it has to be them or the neighbor on the other side or another neighbor.
I would just add to Don's comments, I mean, it is best that it comes from the residents, the citizens, that they submitted, and it does remain confidential. There can be a point if there's a FOIPOP application, but even at that, typically names wouldn't be shared. You can get to a situation where, you know, if it becomes a legal action, then names may come forward, but that's a rarity. So typically someone puts in the complaint, it remains anonymous, and we try and address it.
Thank you.
Councillor Longmire, the second turnaround, and then Councillor Harding.
So it's really challenging. I do know there are several properties that citizens in my district are growing extremely concerned about. And when we speak about a standard of living and how some may not see it as a concern for, you know, a shed that looks like it's half toppling down, but not, is it considered unsightly? It just seems a bit gray to me. And I know it comes through the complaint process solely. But when it begins to accumulate rat infestations and things like that, and only particular people might be seeing that activity that way on a property, doesn't make the property less unsightly, but it becomes dangerous, in my opinion, for animals living next door, for other, you know, families that have children playing outside. You know, I've counted up towards 20 plus rats on a property on the front lawn, and yet the property still doesn't seem to meet the criteria for unsightly. So it's really tricky.
Would you like me to respond to that? So those become extremely tricky because what we're dealing with is the reason for the infestation. And so if, for example, it exceeds community standards for tidiness and there's refuse that's attracting animals around a property, what we're dealing with is the cause of the rat infestation. We can't deal with the rats themselves.
Exactly.
But there are many circumstances that perpetuate rodent infestations. Sometimes having livestock and what you feed them also perpetuates it. That wouldn't really probably fall under unsightly. So if, for example, they want to give waste from the garden to their livestock, that might attract rodents, but there's very little we can do about it unless it's left to rot in the driveway or something like that. It's a case-by-case basis. Even in circumstances where a formal letter isn't placed on a property, sometimes we can go and talk to the property owners, and sometimes there are suggestions of or offers of help that can be provided to people. So it's never a bad idea to touch base with the bylaw officer and explain the circumstance so that an investigation can be undertaken. Very often, just simply going to a property owner and suggesting that their neighbors are bothered by the circumstance, it's quite an eye-opener for them, and it prompts them to do something, particularly during the period of fall cleanup.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. Thank you.
So this list is the complete list of files that are open now?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm just asking because I noticed there was a property in Maitland Bridge that I believe we were looking at and that some issues were addressed, but I think that the residents of that area were, still had some concerns about that property. I know for a fact that there are still some abandoned vehicles and stuff on that property, so that might be something we have to look into, and I can certainly talk to the residents if they need to make another report, but I just wanted to know that if it's not on this list, it's not open.
That may have been added after this information report was completed.
Okay.
I believe there are 2 on the list. If you would like to confirm with me after, I
Certainly.
can do that. But I believe there are 2 more on the list that were added after this report was completed.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions, Councillor Rush?
Just to follow up, if there's expenses for the county on a demolition, is that absorbed by the county generally, or is that attached to the pit and collected through taxes or something?
The last.
The latter.
Yes.
Okay, any other questions? I only have one, but I think it's a typo. In the third one, in the country, if you look in the comments, it's in June of 2026, it's supposed to be 2025, right? 2026?
It is 2026.
Okay.
The residents that own the property live out of country. There
So
are
that
some
explains
things
it.
that they would like to retrieve prior to the things being moved. So we have allowed them to come back in 2026 and get what they need before the vehicles are removed.
Thank you very much for that. Very good. All right. Are there any other questions for either one of the ladies? Well, thank you very much, Madame Gervais and Madame Campbell, and we'll move on. Okay, we are on page 29. We have a report on the update of the West Shell Housing Wildfire response. And I do believe that Mr. Ross has the signature on that one.
I thought that the deputy CAO was going to present it as prize.
I think that.
That's all right, I'll certainly run through it. So, I won't go through the whole thing, but of course, one thing that we noted was that during the wildfire, there wasn't a lot of information that we officially presented to committee of the whole or council, so we thought it would be a good idea to get some documentation as to what went on, and we put this together. I think staff certainly kind of brought back to mind how quickly things moved during the event and how fast the fire moved and how quickly things changed. So really this is just to make sure that there's something on record and that committee has something that you can have if you wanted to have any discussion around it. So that's really just for information. If you have any questions, we can certainly answer them.
It certainly opened my eyes again of how fast things rolled out. Those first couple of days especially, and then the week after. However, thank you for the report. Are there any questions for our CAO or Ms. Campbell? Yes, Deputy Warden?
Not really a question, I guess. It's just, I want to say thank you.
Yes.
Because looking at this, like you said, you lived it, and things were just crazy and hectic every hour of every day. But when you look at this, I forgot how fast it actually grew. Because then when you're watching what happened in Kings, you're like, well, that one's awfully slow. But what wasn't, it was still fast, but ours was just unbelievable. But I do want to say thank you to all the staff of the municipality, as well as all the councillors that went above and beyond. I know we had some that it affected their districts, so they stepped up more than others, but we had a lot of other ones that volunteered and passed information, and it showed that we were all together as one team. And I think it was actually really good to help build that relationship between council and staff too. I think it was very positive. I'm just trying to take positive stuff out of a very not positive situation. But yeah, I just want to say thank you, take the time for that, and also let the general public know that we're not completely out of the woods yet.
Yeah.
You know, it's still an active fire situation. You know, a couple days ago, we had a bit of a flare-up. Every flare-up I can see from my back deck, the smoke. But, yeah, so, you know, we still need to think about the people of Westall Housing, and we're still supporting them to the best of our ability, and there's a lot of partners that are stepping up to help those individuals. So, we're going to be dealing with this for quite some time. So, that's all I want to say.
Thank you. I'm glad you said that, because I wanted to, well, like, do the same thing, because that was on my mind, how our staff and our council were there for each other to do whatever needed to be done for the people with that. Are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Councilor Monmouth?
Thank you. You know, I just want to expand a little bit on what the deputy warden has said. You know, it was exceptional. It was, you know, unprecedented circumstances, and the experience to have gone through a wildfire in Annapolis County tested REMO, tested the county staff, tested so many different departments, tested council. The stepping up and stepping out and being uncomfortable and recognizing your role within something so devastating was important for all of us. To exercise the REMO plan was important. You know, it's only through actioning that you can actually come back to it and say, what did we learn? What did we see? How can we do better the next time? And I think we did excellent. I am so proud of Annapolis County and everyone involved for having made us come through to this point. And I know it's still not behind us, but we've done super amazing. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other, Councilor Agambar?
Thank you. I just want to reiterate there what these folks have said as well. And remember, we're not a long way from out of the woods, especially for the folks that have lost everything. So we need to keep the pedal to the metal, and I'm sure we'll do that and do our due diligence going forward. And again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for District 7 and all the rest of us as well. So yeah, we'll just have to keep on.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Connell?
Yes, and myself, my district was involved, and I'm getting lots of praise from individuals living in our district now that they've gone home and they had time to think about the evacuation and the safeness of the due diligence the county did, and we got high praise from a lot of people. There's still a few naysayers, but the majority of people in the District 10 are more than happy with how things settled out, and knew it was a serious thing that could have happened and could have gotten larger. So they were very thankful, even though it was a long time being away from their homes. They were thankful when they got back that everything was good. I heard over the weekend that DNR is going back in and starting to level out some of the fire breaks that are on private property, which some of the people had concerns about. So they are starting that. One thing, and I'm like Dustin. I like to think that there's a lot of positive. But even people that don't understand wildfires, and even myself, sometimes the information didn't get out to people to explain what they were doing. Because when there was a big flare-up back last week, they were just letting it burn. And people were frustrated saying, well, why aren't they putting it out? Why aren't they putting it out? But in the end, the explanation I got, it was within the burnt areas, and if they put it out today, it would flare up again tomorrow, so they decided they're gonna let it burn that section that wasn't burnt already. So if you know very little about how wildfires work, your first instinct is to criticize, why aren't they doing something? So I think, if anything we learned is that we need to get good information out to the public on how things are going and what things are doing during those periods of time. But the overall picture from the residents of Trunk 10, I think there was a lot of pleasure on how everyone worked good together, how council worked good together with the other authorities, and so no, we'll just march forward, help the community, and hopefully they'll get back on their feet.
Yes, thank you very much. And you're quite right, saying that this was a learning scenario about wildfires. So, and we all still have more to learn as we go through, correct? Would you like to finish on?
Yeah, if I can just add a couple of things. So certainly after the event is officially over, which again, as we know, may not be for a long while yet before the fire is officially declared out, but when that happens, there will be an after-action report that we'll work on with the province and all the other partners that were involved. And we've done some internal work on that already, just from our perspective, and certainly communication is one that was, tough all around, I would say, at times. I think the county did a good job of getting information out that we had, but we didn't always have it. It was part of the issue. Just on a personal note, I would say it's quite a way to start a job. But
right in the fire.
Yeah, right into the fire, literally. But so as most of you know, I was kind of involved a little bit early on, and I would say kudos to the team. Like, it was pretty amazing to walk into a room, to see the people that were involved from the staff perspective and the councillors that were involved for sure, and how well they were working together. And it certainly gave me a lot of confidence coming into this organization, knowing that the team can work like that. So that was a very positive.
Thank you. It was certainly nice to see you here at that time as well. Okay, are there any other comments?
I'm just saying, and stay.
Yeah, and stay, yeah. I didn't want to say that. No one test the waters. Okay. So if we have finished all our comments or questions, statements, we can move on. Let's move on to our next. And 6.3 says Wildfire Financial update.
Yeah, so I've asked Director Wills just to give you a brief verbal update. So we did talk about this briefly at one of our last meetings, just that there will be some more information, and at some point we'll have a full report. We just don't have enough concrete information to give you the written report yet, but Paul's just trying to speak to it now.
Okay. So I met with the department a couple of weeks ago. They asked to meet to go over what kind of expenses that were eligible to claim. They did give me a form that we need to fill out for every expense that we claim. So it's going to take some time to fill out the actual report, because things that they want is the document description. They want the invoice and a copy of the contract, if there is a contract. They want the procurement documents demonstrating that we followed the procurement procedure. They want a proof of payment, both front and back checks or a copy of the EFT. And they want us to show the payment, how it's entered into the GL. And that's for every single one of the expenses that we'll be claiming. I did have some questions for them as to like how do we track certain expenses, and one in particular, it's basically money that we need to have been paid out. So when we pay for, can't think of a good example right now. I want to say overtime, but there's a question around the overtime right now. But if we don't pay out overtime, we don't get to claim it.
No.
So if we bank the time, it's not an eligible expense. One in particular that's a little bit tricky to figure out is the waste collection. We can call Valley Waste and to do a separate waste collection for it. They will not accept that invoice. We have to go through a calculation with like a 5-year average to determine whether or not we're actually going to be over budget. So there's a fair amount of work involved to do this. That's why part of the reason why we do not have a concrete number for you. Plus, we do know that we have the navigator who is still ongoing. So any number that I could provide you today would only be as of the last pay. Last week I was talking to DFA and they advised me, because we were curious, when does the year start? Because we have a year to file the application. And last week when I was talking to him, he basically told me that they would expect us to have the report in sometime next October, a year from now. If for some reason we're not ready there because we have some ongoing things, the CAO can request an extension, but they're not going to give us forever to submit this report. So you can see there's a fair amount of work still to go into it that we need to come up with. Because part of the problem with the waste collection is you used to do your own waste collection, and then you went back to Valley Waste, but we're not comparing apples to apples anymore. So Rob and I are kind of going to sit down and try to figure out a way to come up with something that makes sense and that we can essentially argue. Because when we make the submission, it's the province that goes over it line by line to determine what's eligible before they submit it to the feds. So that would be my little bit of a nutshell update.
Thank you very much. I can see that going to happen.
And anybody who work for government
Yes.
fully understands.
Yes.
That's why I shake my hand.
It takes forever. Deputy Warden?
I just have one question, just around the time frame. And I know this is gonna be a huge project and.
I'm gone the end of August.
Yeah. Have fun. But the question I have with the year timeline, is that year to submit it to the province, or does that include the time that the province has to look over it line by line?
1 year to submit it to the province. So
Okay.
they are expecting our submission no later than next October to the province. And then from them to the feds, I have no idea. We do know that the fires from 2 years ago, Talon and Barrington Shelburne, nothing's been paid yet.
Of course not.
Great.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much. Mr. Wills?
Here.
No problem. No problem. Okay, we are at page 32, which is to amend S2 building bylaw. We have do you wish to speak on it before we do the motion?
We're just continuing on with our theme of aftermath of the fire, because this relates to it as well. And so I would take this opportunity to say thank you for being grateful for what everyone did. It is an event that will live on for all of us who went through it. Our life will largely be measured in before fire and after fire. I would say it was a privilege to see how well the staff and council worked. I would say it was also a privilege to see the community stepping up for itself, because so much would not have been possible without the community stepping up. So this relates indirectly to the wildfire as well. So you will see that we are asking for first reading to waive permit fees for victims of natural disaster. And so the wildfire certainly has prompted our thinking on this, and it will be the first circumstance that would come under this bylaw change if approved by council.
Okay, we'll leave it at that for now.
Yep.
We'll put the motion on the floor. Deputy Warden?
I move that Committee of the Whole recommend Municipal Council to give first reading to amend S2 building bylaw first reading.
Thank you very much. I need a seconder. Councillor Carson Smith. Now questions or comments? We had an intro.
Thank you. You know, in one sense of the word, this is reactionary, right? But how amazing to see the importance of being proactive, right? Because we know the future, any type of disaster could happen, a flood, whatnot. So seeing this is really valuable and important. So I would be in favor of it. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
No, so I'm glad that we're doing this, because hopefully we don't have to deal with it ever again, but it's
Exactly.
nice to actually have policies in place to deal with and to support people. Question I have is, even though it's a smaller amount of 4,300 estimate, is that something that we're gonna claim or can claim under DFA?
Could you, he's on page 33.
Oh, sorry,
Just
page
budget
33,
impacts.
just budget impact.
I would say no.
Okay. Not like it's going to, it's not a huge number compared to everything else that we get a claim, but I was just curious. That's it.
Okay. Is there anybody else? Oh, Councillor Wells, sorry.
I'm totally in favor of this. Do you foresee any other bylaw amendments that we might have to make down the road in situations like this? As far as expenses that might be incurred by residents that experience loss?
Personally, I don't at the moment, but we are still in the process of our after-action report. And honestly, this was one of the things that came out of starting our after-action report. So it's possible there will be others. I'm not having any on my
We'll cross those
immediate
bridges.
work list at the moment.
Thank you.
Did you have anything, Councillor Clancy?
I did, but Councillor Connell was ahead of me.
Yes, but I just want to put you
Yep.
on the list, okay.
Thank you.
Councillor Connell?
Yes, I'm gonna support this because sometimes it's the little things that make a difference.
Yeah.
So if we can make things easier for people that do have loss in the circumstances of a disaster, they have enough things on their plate. Like I say, it's the little things sometimes that drives them over the edge. They have to go through permits, red tape, everything, so, no, very good.
Thank you. Councillor Clancy?
Just echoing what others have said, I'll support this as well. I can only imagine what they're going through, and, you know, I do suspect that they will face some other challenges as they begin their rebuild. You know, likely will be some other discussions that have to come up, so I think this is a very good proactive start, and it may seem little, but I think it's the starting point for a lot of folks, and it's the part where you wouldn't want to have a hurdle, so I think this is a very good starting point, and glad to see it in there. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could add one thing.
Sure.
That the CAO and I have discussed, and I believe he indicated it to council to have on your radar as well. Bill 141 did get passed, and in past fires, the province had stepped up and made adjustments to assessed value. So we have already made the arrangements for property valuation services to come down and reevaluate the properties so that their taxes will be reduced from the period of time that the property was destroyed. However, when the rebuild occurs, that brings up an entirely different kind of scenario that has to be dealt with. There's the cap on property assessment, as well as the increase in value for the new properties. So that is something that, as part of the after-action report, we are going to have to consider, because there is latitude and authority provided to municipalities about how to deal with the aftermath. Not totally sure what that will look like as far as bringing forward to you, but certainly we have it under consideration in preparing part of our report. The last thing we would want to do is for persons to go in and rebuild on a property with a previous assessed value of $100,000 or less, put a new building on the property, increase the value threefold, and have a tax shock come about and how those properties get put on the tax sale list. So there is a process that we will have to go through to try and figure out what might be appropriate steps for council to consider in dealing with that situation over the next probably 3 to 4 years.
That was gonna be my next question, actually.
So you're good? You don't have another one?
Just one more. Is there an avenue for fast tracking permits so that they don't fall into the regular queue for permitting? Or is it all just in the same queue for regular permits that are coming in through the county? If and when they choose to rebuild.
Our queues are pretty short. People tend not to get tied up in queues very much in our planning services.
Wonderful.
I'm sure we will hear about it straight off if it becomes a problem for residents, and we'll,
Okay.
I know Rob would entertain whatever needs to be done there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Longway?
Thank you. Insurance companies, with the navigator's role, are there representatives from insurance that are helping to figure some of this out as far as rebuilding? And, as I've experienced, being within a certain radius of the wildfire, it's been tricky to get insurance on a new vehicle purchase or selling a home, things like that. So if they're building in an actual area where they're closest to this wildfire, and let's say the gentleman who lost his mechanic shop, right? And that's his way of means of making an income. Are the insurance companies going to cooperate and provide insurance? Like going forward, even with new builds in that active area?
I have to be careful how I respond. Insurance companies and cooperation. We are working with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. That seems, and the navigator is working very
Can't hear you.
The navigator is working very closely with the Insurance Bureau of Canada. And in fact, the Insurance Bureau of Canada representative has been at some of the meetings with the residents who lost their property. This seems to be about the best mechanism in order to make our wishes and needs known, and to get an audience from a party that is not the adjuster for the particular properties themselves. So, in other words, we're trying to deal with the insurance companies as a whole, as an industry, rather than one-off insurance companies. That tends to be a little more successful, and we aren't the only municipality that has mentored changes to how people are dealt with in times of emergency.
Thank you for that.
I just wanted to follow up one thing on that. So with the people in Annapolis County that had concerns about getting their insurance renewed, that was tied to our local state of emergency. So now that that is gone or expired, that the insurance companies that they're with for the whole Annapolis County, not talking about just West Dalhousie, but the whole county, because the county-wide was in a state of emergency. That was the concern with the insurance companies. Because I did have a conversation with 2 insurance companies about it, because both mine were actually up for renewal. And because we're no longer in the local state of emergency, that opens up things for them to actually do. So some of that concern is now rectified.
Good. Any other questions?
It's not open.
I guess not. Okay. Thank you, Madame Gamble, for the update. Okay, let's look at the motion again. The first reading to amend. We have a mover and a seconder, we got that. And the question, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay, let's move on to new business. And in your package, you're going to find on page 37, Harding on, well, I'll let him explain.
Perfect, thank you, Warden. I just thought this might be a good opportunity to update council on what's been happening with the Joint Police Advisory Board committee that we have with the town of Middleton. I've been fortunate enough to be elected as chair of that committee. So with some of the things that have been going on with the province, I just wanted to give you guys an update. And I will just give you a quick update about what we've been working on before we get into this report. The PAB, we've met 4 times since February 20th. We meet every 2 months. And what we've done, actually, one of the things that we've done is put in a new initiative to give a welcome package to new RCMP members that are stationed in Annapolis County. This was an initiative that was carried over from the previous PAB that was just the Annapolis County PAB. They had started this. So we took this on, and with the help of staff and members of the board, we were able to put together a package that basically has just a cover letter, and I have a copy of it here. Just letting them know a little bit about the area, what to expect. Also, community events guide that we've put in there, maps, brochures and pamphlets so that they can get accustomed to the area. And this was actually a recommendation that came from the Mass Casualty Commission report. This was one of the recommendations that they had put in to give RCMP officers that are posted here a little bit more information about the area that they're serving, and also the culture and the residents that they're coming into, because of course they come from all over the country. So we are hoping to actually have 10 of those packages put together and given to the staff sergeant before our next meeting in November. So that's very good work we've been doing. So this report I did up for council. I just wanted to inform council of the recent developments that have stemmed from the province of Nova Scotia's comprehensive policing review, which was done by Deloitte, and then the provincial government's, so that's here, that's the 128-page document that Deloitte put out, and then the province put out in response a Shaping the Future Policing in Nova Scotia, a little bit smaller of a document. And this, of course, was in response to, again, a recommendation from the Mass Casualty Commission. So this report was done in 2025. The final report came out in 2025. And they did consultations with community members. They did surveys from 7,000 Nova Scotians, from some municipal CAOs, and from also leadership teams in the RCMP. And with this document they've put in here, Shaping the Future, they've begun implementing some foundational changes. So some of the key findings that were in these reports, going through them, that they found from the surveying the public, were obviously inequity in service levels. I think we all know a little bit about that. Rural and smaller communities experience longer response times and lower visibility. Rising policing costs. Municipalities, especially those policed by the RCMP, face increasing financial pressures under the current funding models. Governance challenges. Police boards and advisory bodies report high turnover, limited training, and unclear mandates. Technology gaps. Use of 3 different records management systems in Nova Scotia limits the real-time coordination and oversight between the groups. So this one is actually something that they have committed to fixing right away. They're going to move to just one single records management system that will be used across all departments. So with Cape Breton, Halifax, the smaller municipalities, and the RCMP, so that they can pass information back and forth without having issues with different systems. Expanded police roles. So officers are often responding to mental health calls, addictions calls, social services calls, and there's also, they are required, if they are taking someone to the hospital for one of these issues, it could be any number of things, of course, the officer is required to stay there with them. So this is taking an officer that perhaps could be out patrolling in the community or responding to a call and they're having to transport someone to Kentville, oftentimes, and having to wait with them. So that could possibly be taking an officer out, and I know from speaking with the staff sergeant that this can oftentimes take officers out for half of their shift. So this is something that the province has identified as a key finding and are going to be looking to find solutions to. As of yet, we haven't gotten a lot of information from the province on where we're going with a lot of these things. But this is kind of why I wanted to make council aware of how these things are moving forward. So the commitments that the province has made are 6 foundational changes. First off, like I said, was the Unified Records Management System, enhanced police resourcing. Again, what that is going to mean exactly, we're not too sure. They mention a layered policing model, and this is going to include community safety officers, CSOs, or special constables. And I know we've heard some conversations about special constables and bylaw officers, and that's a whole nother conversation for another day. But community safety officers, in Annapolis County, we actually have a senior safety coordinator that's based out of the RCMP office. Some of you may know her, Sharon Elliott, and she does a fantastic job. She goes out, speaks with people, helps address people's needs and concerns, helps people age in place, and is a resource for people that could be having issues of any sort that maybe don't necessarily need an RCMP officer there, but they need someone there. And if it's something that the RCMP does need to come out for, I mean, obviously there's elder abuse, there's financial things that can happen. She can then refer that to the RCMP. She's based in the RCMP office, but that's not necessarily something that an RCMP officer needs to attend to right away. So she's doing a great service there, and I believe that she is actually going to be, and that program is going to be a model for what the province is going to be looking at moving forward, because she came in and did a presentation at the PAB, and it was just excellent, the work that she does. And she works in coordination with the RCMP. So she's right there with them, and it's worked very well. So they also talk about a creation of community safety boards, which would be similar to a police advisory board. But they're talking about expanded oversight, and they're also talking about a much larger area. So they're talking about multiple districts, much larger kind of catchment area for a community safety board. They may have some more oversight, whereas we are, just Annapolis County and the detachment in Bridgetown. They would be taking in 3 or 4 different districts and putting it into an oversight board. And then we would have representation of some sort on that. Again, this is what is in the report. It doesn't go into a lot of detail. We're still waiting to hear what's happening with that. Revised provincial policing standards. So they're setting out to have a standard of policing across the entire province, which means that they want all municipalities to have the resources that are needed. And of course, this calls into question for some of our smaller police forces how they're going to meet that standard. The way that I understood it is that there'll be certain things such as canine units, forensic units, specialized units that all municipalities will be expected to have. And of course, with our municipality, we have that because we're contracted with the RCMP, so that is covered for us, but it will be an issue for some of the smaller ones. They may have to contract that service from the RCMP as well, because they'll have to show that they can meet the standard. And then a new billing framework, which will be very interesting for us. This is going to be probably into the future, but they're going to be coming out with a new framework for billing. The RCMP contract currently is running until 2032. So that will affect the renewal of that contract. At our PAB meeting, I was informed by the CAO from Middleton that she spoke with representatives from the Department of Justice, and they are indicating April 1st, 2026, they will be coming out with more information in regards to what they're planning on doing with that billing framework. So again, we had a presentation from NSFM at the joint council meeting where Mrs. Spencer and Mr. Petit from NSFM gave us a lot of information and covered all of these points in detail. This is just something that I've been working on for a little while, and I wanted to kind of bring to council's attention so you guys were kind of up to date on some of these changes that may be coming our way. The implications, of course, will be budgeting. We'll have to see where that goes with the cost-sharing models for the RCMP services. The oversight, it may evolve into a safety board. Again, waiting to see what's happening there. The service planning, we may be called on to participate in the layered policing pilots, such as special constables or the CSOs. I think we're in a good position for that. Governance readiness, need to evaluate the county's current role in policing governance, compliance with standards, and readiness for potential integration into the updated oversight structures, which is going back to the community safety board aspect. And this is obviously the recommended next steps I have here, just to give a presentation to you as council. To also possibly request a staff briefing from the RCMP or the Department of Justice. I think the briefing we got from NSFM was very, very good. Mr. Petit had a lot of information on this, and also engaging with the neighboring municipalities and the NSFM to ensure that our voices are represented in the upcoming policing reforms. So just for your information as well, I did read through this Deloitte report, and just so everyone knows, in the Deloitte report, Deloitte actually recommended a provincial police force, was their recommendation. Their second recommendation, now that they recommended would have the best effect, but also at the highest cost to taxpayers. So the second option was to basically beef up the RCMP to be more of and use the RCMP as a provincial police force, but to put more resources into them, and then move forward with looking at a provincial police force. So they went with option 2 to increase resource for the RCMP, just so everyone's aware that that was their response in this document here. So I should have started with that, but just to let you guys know. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay.
So it just happened last night, there was an advertisement on TV, the federal policing advertising on their importance to all the communities across Canada. But again, it was all high-end work. There was nothing about community policing. It was their importance on all the drugs raid and the offshore stuff and the computer cyber stuff like that. Big advertisement, because I think they're getting criticized across Canada. And we heard that at our joint meeting, that there's big cities that are going with their own police forces. So I can see that they're beefing up their importance of being part of the problem. But again, even in their advertisement, they don't show any form of community policing. It's all high-end stuff, so if that's what we're gonna keep paying for RCMP for, we're still not gaining what we need in our communities, so it'd be good to see how it moves forward.
Work in progress. Any other comments, Councilor Crenshaw?
Just thank you to Councillor Hardin for his report and his presentation. And in his recommended next steps, I would be in favor of the PAB presenting it after maybe the whole meeting. I'm not sure what he had in mind, but I would certainly be in favor of that being added at a future meeting. And I'd also be in favor, I can't speak for everyone, but I'd be in favor of Sharon Elliott doing a presentation on the senior safety at a future committee of the whole or council meeting if council wish to learn more about the programs, because the little bit I've seen, I see it's one of the programs that affects the entire county, so it affects all our districts and whatnot. And
It's quite impressive.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's quite impressive.
So just throwing that out there too for future presentation ideas.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, so we have to go quick. Councilor Longmire,
Okay,
Deputy Warden.
It's like every other entity that requires reevaluation and facing the future needs and how do we get there. And, resourcefully, we need to put in place those specialists who can help facilitate so that our RCMP can be on the ground doing the work that they're naturally trained to do. And they are trained to do excellent work in areas that other municipal types of policing are not. I'm just going to say it like it is. It's not comparing apples to apples. We need, we are, Nova Scotia, burdened with the drug trade, trafficking, and those things are growing each and every day all around us in these small communities. And our landmass in Annapolis County is huge. If you think about RCMP response times and things like that, I don't want to play a blame game. I just want more resources in place for these excellent officers in order for them to do the excellent work that they have been trained so well to do. One little note on Sharon Elliott. I have been immensely blessed by that lady with the detachment in Bridgetown and what she does throughout the county. She has come out to the halls when I've had concerns about policing and response times. When we've had seniors who are burdened with cyber and scams and things like that. Also, by coming out to the halls in my district, lays when they see the RCMP car or an RCMP officer comes and speaks, or what they see Sharon, they know that those people are now visible. And so it does give some time for others to think about what they might be considering, right? So the visits, I would welcome anyone to reach out and have, and I know that means that RCMP can't always be there, but they'll do their very best to be able to go out and speak and work with the community. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks.
Thank you. Deputy Warden?
No, so the only thing that I really had was, Sharon Elliott is phenomenal, but the only thing that I want to point out with that is not an RCMP position. That is funded by the Health Foundation. So if that's a model they're going to, then hopefully that gets encompassed into that position, because right now it's not a guaranteed position.
No, it's not.
And that's part of the issue, where it looked like we almost potentially lost that position. So, which would be devastation for our communities. The amount of work that Sharon does for not just senior safety, but for a whole gamut of safety. So hopefully when they look at that, it's encompassed as a full-time position. And the relationship is very unique, and I can see why that model is being used, where usually that type of position does not have the authority or access to actually work within the RCMP detachment like this one does. But we also need to think about the unique position we have within Annapolis County is the community policing officer, which is Adam. He's the one that goes into the schools and does that. That is another key model. So I know there's a lot of discussion around RCMP and the do's and the don'ts and the like and dislike. But within our county, we have a lot of positive that happens here, and which has been phenomenal. I know from my kids' perspective, Adam's been a great resource. I know one of my daughters participated in a thing at Camp Brigadoon, and the fact that the whole point of Adam's position is to create that link and also to destigmatize the RCMP within the younger generation, where we're not, you see the police and you're not panicked, because we need to see the police as a resource and for safety, not for a panic. So I'm glad to see. I'm not going to speak too much because I'm still an employee with the RCMP, but this has nothing to do with our current contract. So I just wanted to speak to those points that our county does have a lot of good, but there's always a huge amount of improvement no matter where we go. So it's going to be interesting to see how the province navigates this review and how they navigate what their next steps are. The only concern I have from an Annapolis County perspective is the cost. And it should be interesting to see how that goes. It'd be nice if they went away with the 70-30 plan and went to like a 50-50. That would be really good. But the other thing I wanted, yeah, I know, yeah. But the other thing I want to mention that people don't always recognize within the contract we have with the RCMP is, yes, we pay a lot of money. Yeah, a lot of money. However, there's a lot of things that we don't actually pay for that people don't realize. So we don't pay for overtime.
That's right.
So when there is people that are here because someone's off on sick or whatever, Annapolis County uses it, my understanding is a large amount of overtime, and the municipality is not charged for that. The province and feds pay for that, as well as other, like the conniving dogs and the, we do pay a small portion for like the high-risk investigations, but there is a lot that's encompassed that we don't pay for. So, but hearing that also makes me nervous for the future of, are they gonna roll some of those things in since they wanna make this broad policing standard across the province? I know there's a lot of municipalities that are concerned, the smaller municipalities, where right now they actually get those services 100% for free. So if a municipality that has their own policing organization and they need access to forensics or whatever, they're not really paying for that. So, but anyway, I could talk all day. But you now.
You're done.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're going to pause now and take maybe a 5-minute break so that our presenter was 7 minutes late can set up, and if we need anything. Okay, so Okay, welcome back. We are going to have a presentation from Tracy, is it Zane?
Yes.
From Trimac Engineering on the solar system program that we have. Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having this opportunity. My name is Tracy. I'm the Chief Commercial Officer from the Solar Bank. It's my honor today to present the exciting potential community solar projects in Annapolis Valley and seeking for your support for that project so we can apply for a community solar contract in the province. So I will give you the background information about the community solar program and who's the project owner, what kind of the key companies involved for project development, where's the site information, and briefly what's the development process for the project, and the engagements we have been done, the benefits we can bring into the community. Then we'll open for Q&A. So the Nova Scotia has identified there's two key challenges in the electricity industry, one being high electricity price. The residents on average is paying about 18 cents per kilowatt hour, and high emission, still about 50% of the electricity is generated by the fossil fuel, around 31% coming from the coal plants. So the government already made a decision that they want to shutting down the coal plant by 2030, and of course phasing out. That's 31% of the production. So where's the electricity coming from? So as the part of the climate change action plan, they want 80% of the electricity generated by the renewable by 2030, and by 2035 they want to achieve net zero in the electricity generation. Very aggressive. It's 5 years from now, but they already take a lot of action. They already have about 930 megawatts of the contract granted to the wind. So those ones connecting to the provincial grid, the transmission line. When the time you drive on the highway, you probably see the high tower. So those are the transmission lines. The wind projects connecting to the provincial infrastructure. But the program I'm proposing today is called the Community Solar Program. So where the scale is much smaller, feeding to the communities, the distribution system, the size will be about 500 kilowatt to 10 megawatts to be eligible to apply for this community solar program. So this is really to open up, expand for those people's residents, business. They are very interested to using the clean energy, while they are not necessarily having all the resource, right, the time, money, and expertise to do the solar development on the rooftop, on the backyard. So now they can conveniently using the solar electricity at a discounted price. So how does that work out? So if we propose the project to community solar program, if the contract has been granted to the project, so the project owner will provide 100% financing for this project, and they will hire a company like us, the developer, and with the local contractors will build the projects to the commercial operation, and also at their expense, they will operate the contract for 25 years. So project owner will enter a power purchase agreement with the Nova Scotia Power, and the solar projects will feed into the Nova Scotia, the local, the distribution grid, where all the residents' office will all connecting to. So the users of the electricity, right? Let's say the local residents interested to use the solar electricity, so they just need to enter a paper subscriber agreement with the project owner. They do not need to physically connecting to the solar projects. So they're still connecting to the Nova Scotia Power, the grid as usual. They're using the power as usual. So because they enter a paper subscriber agreement with the project owner, so now they are virtually using the solar electricity. And financially, they also got a 2 cents per kilowatt hour off. That's roughly about 10 to 15% off on their current electricity bill. So the program already launched in March of the last year. So it's reviewed as a first come, first served. The province, for now, just announced the 4 contracts. And soon we'll be seeing a few contracts, the solar projects being started to do the design, construction maybe next year. I believe one of them actually is in Annapolis Valley as well. The contract term will be 25 years. So this contract, this project will be connecting to your local distribution system, feeding to the local communities where all the houses, office, schools, hospitals connecting to. So once the solar has been producing the electricity to the grid, the reliability of the electricity will be increased here because now you have a local generation. So the summary of the benefits, so the subscribers, the local users, they can, using the clean energy, there's no incremental fees, no commitment for 25 years. It's us commit to the 25 years. For them, they can in and out all the time. Now, financially, they got the 2 cents per kilowatt hour off, so roughly about 10 to 15% off their current Nova Scotia bill. And they will receive only one bill from Nova Scotia Power because in this program, the contract will be reviewed by the province. Contract will be granted by the Minister of the Energy, but Nova Scotia Power, their role is like an administrator of this program. So they will have a billing service. The residents will receive only one bill. And to the county, Annapolis Valley will help you to reduce the emission and also create a local job because in the construction town, we always hire the laborers from local as much as possible. And also the contract is for 25 years. So we'll always hire from the local electricians, technicians, do the operation maintenance for the 25 years. Again, as mentioned, the reliability of the grid, right, for the local will be improved. So the projects owned by IR Renewable Flow-Through Fund is a Canadian limited partnership. So through that is you will see a number company, right? So this number company will 100% own the projects. So the role for Solar Bank and TriMac, we are providing the co-development service for this company, for this project. So IR Renewable is a flow-through limited partnership with a headquarter office in Toronto. And they only invest in the clean infrastructure and the renewable energy projects in Canada to be qualified for this flow-through structure so the investors can get a tax benefit. So because of that, then their expectation about financial return is only one single digit, like a conservative return. So that's the reason we can make this financially feasible for these projects. On the other hand, there's an additional emotional benefit because they also want to be part of the solution to managing the climate change. So that's the reason we are doing that. Solar Bank is us. We are a Canadian solar developer, the headquarter office in Toronto. So we established about 12 years ago. That time also for Ontario's fit-in tariff program. It's also government procurement for the solar projects. So for now, we developed over 1,000 projects in Canada and also in the U.S. About 8 years ago, we also expand to the U.S. for the community solar programs in New York County. So a lot of lesson learned experience, and this is actually the first community solar program in Nova Scotia, also in Canada. So it's a little bit, like a pioneer experience here. But I feel very proud that Solar Bank, we can bring the solar expertise to Nova Scotia and also our experience we learned from the U.S. and apply to the home country. So the logos are our partners over the past years. So this is the brief development process, and we involved from the very beginning. When the program has been announced, we analyze about the requirements of the program. We talk to the landowners, get the lease agreements, and talk to the municipality to understand your zoning bylaw requirements from you, and also the province, what's their consideration about the environmental. And also Nova Scotia Power, because it's connecting to the grid, right? Understanding the local capacity. So we kind of involve everything, and we do the local engagement as well. We understand the comments from the local community. So we'll be considered when the time we do the design or management. So we'll put a package together for apply for the community solar contract if the contract has been granted. So that will be end of the development, kind of a process called the power purchase agreement will be granted to us. So after that, we actually put the financing together, help our investors get financing, construction, and the ITC tax benefit. And we do the detailed engineering studies, engineering design, the decide the procurement, the materials, do the construction, and after reach the commercial operation, we also here for long term, managing the projects for 25 years. So our interest is pretty much aligned with the local community because we will not build the projects and then sell. We'll be here for the long term. And it's easier for everyone. I think local community or municipality have questions, just need to contact Solar Bank or TriMac. So TriMac is a local engineering firm. They have two offices, one in Sydney and the other one in Halifax. So the three principals, they're all family members. The middle is the father, Blair, electrical engineer, and the two brothers, they're all mechanical engineers. So Joseph planned to attend this meeting and very sorry he's sick, so he feels so sorry he cannot attend here. But he's always available. We also provide the contact information. So I want to mention Blair has about 40 years experience working with the Nova Scotia Power, and he's also an electrical engineer. So a lot of expertise can bring into this development as well. So the location of these projects is in the Grandview and the Highway 1, the access from the Jeffrey Street. So it's the bridge town over that area. So this is give you some idea about once the solar project's being built. This is a project we built in the U.S. Roughly, what does that look like? Like solar projects will be fenced, and local residents close by, they can virtually using the solar electricity. So details of the site. So this is at the green boundary is the poppy boundary. So there's actually two parcels. The solar projects will be located under the PID, and the other one is also owned by the same landlord and will allow us to do the access. The orange line is the access to the Jeffrey Street. So the blue apparently is the solar panels. So total size is about 2.5 megawatt AC, roughly take about 12 acres of the usable land. So what we fenced, the dashed line is the fence. Once we finish, will be fenced. And on the property, there's a water course over there. So we usually put the 30 meters of the setback and just avoid the impact to the local water. The zoning is a R1, is a light residential. So roughly like that. It's access from the Jeffrey Street. Actually behind Unsightly is a trail over there. So we visit the site, I think there's a natural visual screening over there. So when the people drive by Jeffrey Street, they won't see the solar projects. The brief development stage. So currently we're at the Data Blue. The program launched March of the last year, and early this year they kind of paused a little bit, and the window has been reopened October the 6th. First conference, roughly I think now still have about 90 megawatts of the contract available. This site already passed all the preliminary assessments, like interconnection, environmental preliminary assessments, topographic, so it's suitable for the solar development. That's how we did public engagements, engagement with First Nations is quite positive, and we're here want to seeking for your municipal support letter for this project so we can apply. Once we got the letter available, we put a proposal together, submit to the Nova Scotia, the community solar program, and after contract granted, we still have to do a lot of the studies, the detailed system impact assessment with the Nova Scotia Power, and a lot of the in-depth studies, like the geotechnical studies, wetland delineation, and also wildlife and archaeological studies, etc. So all those studies will be done after contract granted to these projects, and based on the results from all the in-depth study results, we'll finalize the solar design, and then we'll do the procurement material, start to do the construction. So if the contract can be submitted, let's say, the application, let's say October or early November. So roughly we'll got the result about the Q1 of the next year from the community solar program. It's 45 business days for review, but usually have a Q&A. So I think roughly about Q1 we'll know the result. Then based on the everything tightened up around the summer of the 2027, so roughly can reach the commercial operation. So that's kind of a rough timeline. So this is the requirement material for application package. Municipal support letter of resolution is a mandatory important information have to be included in this application package. And I also want to mention, this letter do not exempt us for any of the compliance or permitting with authorities, with Nova Scotia Power. It's purely like your attitude. Are you positive for these projects, and you will allow us to support us continually doing this project development. It's purely like, whether you are positive or not. So we already did the public engagement. So we have 2 meetings. We sent out about 350 letters because that site close by, there's a lot of like a density of the residents. So we want to everyone aware about the projects, about 350 letters sending out, and provide the website, the notification, the link, and the contact information. Also invite any if people want to ask a lot of questions, they can come to the public meeting, one in person July the 9th, and another one is online on the July the 23rd. So overall, we answered a lot of inquiries. Overall, it's quite positive in this project. So we also did the First Nation engagement. The adjacent one is Annapolis Valley First Nation and other marginalized communities. So there's no objections coming from the communities as well. So here's our subscriber plan. So technically, any of the Nova Scotia Power user could be the subscriber for the projects, but we have our priority plan, and we'll give the first priority to the residents and communities hosting these projects, and also the marginalized community like senior housing, low-income house. Those will be the first priority. So if still have excessive electricity available, then we'll expand the radius, right, to the closer community. And just in case you have something left over, we'll open to the general public. But I think this one have so much of the residents close by. I think for the first layer of the waterfall, probably already fully subscribed. So that's the overall summary of the projects. Really hope got your municipal support letter of for supporting for this potential projects. To me, it's an excellent opportunity, so the locals can be benefit financially, and also using the clean energy, and also creating the job opportunities, and also all together will help managing the climate change. So this is our contact information, and any questions from the councilors, from the members?
Thank you very much. We'll start questions, and I see Councilor Longway, you had your hand up.
I did. Thank you so much for the presentation. I was in attendance at the Bridgetown Fire Department, and it was very informative. And the recap here is really well done. Being responsible and meeting the future goal, of course, with climate change, and recognizing our role as Annapolis County with green energy is going to be important. One of my burning questions is, what does that recycling and disposal plan look like, and what relationship does Nova Scotia Power, and what will they play in on that? And are we equipped in our county, where would that recycling happen or disposal happen?
Okay, great question. So the decommissioning is the project owner's responsibility. And in terms, the plan is actually around 1 year close to the end of the term. So we're talking to the municipality, the requirements about your decommissioning requirements, and also we'll connect with Nova Scotia Power as well, and with the landlord, of course, right? So it's our responsibility at our cost to decommission those projects. So our plans actually will hire some recycling companies. Their specialties to do the recycling of those, the decommissioning and recycle of those projects. So roughly actually around 95% of the materials is recyclable. Only whatever the leftover, they will go to the landfill. So from every year, actually from the revenue, we start to put a small portion of the fund put as the decommission fund in the trust account. So that will be used at the end of the 25 years to do the recommission. So we'll communicate with the municipality for ineligibility, but it's actually us, the project owner's responsibility responsible to do the decommissioning.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. Councilor Mayor.
Yes, I'm just curious, there was an estimate of saving like around 10% for subscribers. Was that estimate after the subscription fee or before the subscription fee?
So there's no subscription fee to the residents. So there's no incremental fee to them. It's purely 2 cents per kilowatt hour off. And because on average, they're paying probably 18 cents to 19 cents. So that this 10 to 15%, the numbers come from.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Councilor Hurd?
So the project size, I see it says 2.5 megawatts, is that?
Yes.
Yeah, so
AC, yes.
that would be the generation that it would do.
Yes.
How many homes approximately do you think that
Good
would be?
question, yeah. So 1 megawatt AC is around 131 home. That's from the province
For one.
side. Yeah, 131 for 1 megawatt AC.
Okay.
So I would say this is probably around 270 homes.
Okay. That would benefit from that subscription, yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments or questions? Councilor Longwire?
Thank you. So would that also apply to like rinks and pools that are big generators of energy?
So-
Like if 217 houses, like what size house? Or, could a large commercial space like a rink?
Okay, yes, yeah. So this is just a kind of estimation from the guide because it's a popular question people want to understand. So basically, it's actually, there's no limitation. So the users of your client, as long as you're a customer of Nova Scotia Power, you can apply as this subscriber. So the community centers, your rings, they are all qualified. Even the municipality office, if you want to use the clean energy, you're also qualified as well. So it's for the residents, we have a minimum commitment for 40% will be local residents. So they can subscribe up to 100% of their annual usage.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Mr. Welch?
Thank you for the presentation, Tracy. It's a good direction I think we're moving in. I just got a couple questions. One is a 2 cent rate that subscribers get. Is that adjusted for inflation over the 25 years, or is that consistent through those 25 years?
It's consistent. It's right. It's not determined by us. It's actually written in the community solar guide.
Okay. And that's private land, so you would rent that land?
Yes, yeah. It's a private land. We already have a long-term lease.
Okay. Is this the first one you're doing in Nova Scotia?
For us.
Yes.
Okay, so this is kind of the third batch of the project. So the first one, we got a contract granted. There's 3 contracts actually granted to us, AR Renewable, and the one in Annapolis Valley in Brooklyn Road. That is 4.8 megawatt AC. And just if we build up, it's going to be the largest solar project for a while in Nova Scotia. And the other contracts in West Patapsquid, like 30 minutes away from Halifax, that is 2.2 megawatts, very similar to this size. The other one is in Sydney, 1.7 megawatt AC. So those 3 are all the contracts granted in the same fund. And there's one community solar project already reached the commercial operation in Cape Breton, but that is a very small one, 550 kilowatt ground mount, not megawatt, kilowatt ground mount. But they actually build up only for their low income housing in their own community.
Cool. Does the province have any setbacks as far as where these solar projects can be established? The same like we have setbacks for wind turbines. Is there is there like a system of regulations around what governs where these are established?
Yeah, so this is a smaller size. So the rule is basically we comply with the municipality, your local rule. So we'll talk to the planners, what is the setback requirement, and we'll comply. And usually for us, we put a minimum 10 meters of setback to the property boundary. And the water cost, I believe the rule is a minimum 10 meters, but usually we put a minimum 30 meters, just make, be more conservative and preserve about the water quality and the nature. And for the residents, we usually put a minimum 100 meters to the close to the resident's house. So in this case, it's 150 meters away. So the province, because the size to them is small. So we basically will comply with what's the zoning requirements in the local municipality.
Do you have a process for selecting your sites, or are you approached by private residents interested in developing a farm like this?
So it's kind of a mutual, but whenever a site come in, we'll do our first screening first, because important is actually the interconnection. The Nova Scotia Power must have an interconnection capacity available, because otherwise the upgrades, the financially will be infeasible for the upgrade. So and one is a capacity, and also the distance to the interconnection point, right? So more than 1 kilometer away, basically financial will be not visible as well. And the other considerations that you have to have some like a more or less, not 100% flat, but more or less the flat land, so you can install the solar projects. And also, cannot be like a heavily wetland, because otherwise too much of the impact to the environment, right? Yeah, so a lot of considerations. We also work with the CCTH, we give them information, and we also want to see from their database what's the impact to the wildlife, any like a species at risk on this site, like any archaeological consideration for that site. So this site will do the archaeological studies after contract granted. On the site, they didn't, I think they have a close by the archaeological property registered, not close to this one, but it's also like a provincial properties registered. Okay. So the recommendation is that after that, we'll do the ARIA, the Archaeological Resource Impact Assessment for this site. So it's kind of, at this moment, we did a lot of preliminary assessment, right, that given government authority, Nova Scotia Power, and also reading our zoning rules, and we also don't want to put on the zoning not allowed for the solar development, something like that. So then we'll do do the public engagement. Public have to be positive or at least acceptable to the, and then we'll go to the municipality, propose for the project, seeking for the letter of the support.
Thank you so much, Tracy.
Thank you. Any other questions for our guest? Anyone has no questions?
Actually, I have one.
Oh,
Sorry. So I noticed on this, and maybe it was already answered, but my question was just around the waterway. So where did the 30-meter setback come from?
So it's from our experience. So typically, if it's a normal water cost, the 30 meters should be good enough to just not providing the impact to the water. But however, this is a preliminary site plan. So after the contract granted, we'll do the wetland delineation.
Okay.
Then because this water cost is from the database, right, registered in the provincial database. So, but the actual water the impact will be based on the wetland delineation, like where's the location of the wetland or water. Yeah. Then they will also, the setback, this is the normal case will be 30 meters. But however, if do other studies, for instance, like a wildlife study, right, species at risk, if they identify, let's say there's some like a species at risk in this water course, then the setback, typically they will make a recommendation, hey, you like within the 100 meters, in our case in Ontario, like within the 100 meters, you do have to do this environmental assessment, but if it's outside of the 100 meters, and then you don't have to do that. So the actual setback will be based on after wetland delineation and after all those species at risk, the wildlife study, then we'll decide what should be the final setback.
Thank you.
Anybody else? No? Seeing no one? Thank you very much, Madam, for being here, Madam Tracy, and giving us a an introduction on the plans that you have there for us and answering our questions. So we will move on back to our regular meeting. And thanks for coming.
Okay, thank you so much,
Thank you.
everyone, for your consideration.
You're welcome. Okay, we are on 7.2. And 7.2 is Remembrance Day, attendance and number of wreaths discussion. Okay, so what we're proposing is, last year it was like a quick, let's get it done because we were thrown into it. We have different areas that are, different people that are going. There's Middleton, Bridgetown, Annapolis Royal, Clementsport, Brickton. Brickton is a question mark. I don't know if Brickton is being done or not, but I remember it being done. Bear River, Springfield, Lawrencetown, maybe?
Yep.
And, okay, so usually the council of the area would at least take one on, and I know that there's some of us that don't. So if we could take our area and try to be at that for Remembrance Day, it'd probably be the best to go with. Now, there are some that will need to be filled in. If you're going to one and you have a second place that you have to be, and you won't mind this counselor that hasn't been somewhere to go, then it would be. Because if we go 4 at a place, then it's going to be one wreath presented and that's it. Okay? So, Clementsport, well, start at the bottom. Clementsport is in your district. So are you going to be available to do the Clementsport one?
I might do Bear River like I did last year.
Well, the way I'm looking at it is Niall is in the Bear River one. So Niall, what are you saying?
Well, usually I do Annapolis, because I'm a member of the Annapolis Legion.
I have a solution.
I'm okay.
I'm up for solutions.
Yeah.
I'm a member of the Clementsport Legion, and I don't have a legion in my district, so I typically attend. You did
The Clementsport one.
Okay, so Clementsport will be
So I can do that on
That's
behalf.
You did it
awesome.
last year too, didn't you?
Councillor Cranton.
Sort of.
We'll discuss that later.
Yeah.
Okay, so Bear River will be left to John,
Yeah.
Councillor Welsh. Okay. And Annapolis Royal will be for Harding. Okay. Now we have, what's the story on Brickton? Maybe I'll ask that.
Brickton didn't have one in the last few years, and that would be Jesse's area.
That's what I was wondering. So do you want to find out if they have one? In case?
Burton, like the, which Burton, or
Brickton Community Hall has a little monument there, and they used to have.
they did it at the, well, I haven't heard anything, but I can inquire.
They did or they didn't?
I haven't heard anything, so
So you don't know what?
I would have to inquire.
Okay, do you want to check that
I
one?
can check, yeah.
Perfect. So we'll put Councillor Hare for Brickton with a question mark. He will tell us if we need to wreath or not. Springfield. You have Springfield, so that's Connell. And do you have another one?
Lawrencetown,
Is it Cogs?
Cox.
Okay, can that one be shared? Would another counselor to go visit with you? Yes?
Sure.
Are they both at the same time?
No, not usually.
So Springfield first,
Springfield's usually first.
and the Cogs is on that day?
Yes.
You remember, okay. Okay, so we'll see what happens there. And then we have Bridgetown, and that is done by Deputy Warden.
Yeah, that's my district, but last year Ted went with me.
And Councillor Argenbar, are you going with the Deputy Warden to the Bridgetown one?
Thumbs up.
That's a thumbs up, so that's a yes. So those are the two for Bridgetown.
Just one.
And with one wreath? Okay. And now we have the Middleton one. And the Middleton one encompasses myself, Councillor Parson Salzman, and I was thinking of Councillor Oxner and Councillor Hare. If you do Rickton, that would be Grant. So there'd be 3, and in the past, what we did for Rich Middleton is take turns. So we can take turns. And we'll have one read. Or we can also.
She comes to it.
I was going to mention that at the end.
Now I'm back at you.
Yeah.
I do have you.
You know where I go.
Yeah, and I'm thinking you're going to Annapolis Royal with
Yes.
Councillor Harding.
Yes. Thank you.
That works good.
One read. Yes.
One week, yes. Okay? Does that work for everybody? Complaints so far, so we'll roll with that.
So if there's no service in Brookton, you'll let me know, Jesse,
Yep.
where you're going?
And just decide, you might want to go to the Lawrencetown one. You might want to go to the Memphis one. You might want to go, you know what I mean. Anyway, okay, so now we'll move on to 7.3. So as you know, in November, Remembrance Day is on our Tuesday, which is our usual committee of the whole day. So, in order not to move committee of the whole and council day, we should put our council day on November 10th, which is Monday.
I mean, committee of the whole.
I said, yes, you're right. Committee of the whole, sorry, I said 2 things at once. November 10th, committee of the whole, and keep our council day as it is the following week, on the Tuesday. Do we have any problems with November 10th being our committee of the whole? See, none? Snuck in there. None? Yes, Councillor Ross?
I can work the weekend. Instead, Monday is usually my roast day, but I'll work on that weekend, so I'll be available for Monday.
Okay, good. Good job.
Go team.
Thank you for that. Go team. Go team, yeah, exactly. Go team. All right, so we're good. So that's done. All right, so the next part of our agenda is to go in camera in section 22 to, I just thought there was no questions other than John. I should have put my head up again. Nobody, okay. So in camera, section 22 to C personnel matters, and in section 22.2E contract negotiations of the Municipal Government Act. I need a mover, Deputy Warden, and I need a seconder. Parson Sullivan. Okay, all in favor signify by saying yes.
Yes.
Opposed, no. Motion passed. Okay.